What's up, Internet? Welcome to Once Over. I'm Kaylee, and today we are going to be giving the once over to the very weird, very sexy, and very froggy Hell Comes to Frogtown. There will be spoilers. Couple of housekeeping items. Yes, the rumors are true. I dyed my hair. I screwed up a little bit. I got some blue all over the place. We're gonna deal with it. We're gonna pretend like it's not a thing. Also, I realized that I just did a movie about a rat, and then I did a movie about a duck, and now I'm doing a movie about frogs. So I promise for my next review, it will not be so animal-centered. Hell Comes to Frogtown is a Mad Max ripoff that came out in 1988 and features a post-apocalyptic world where war rendered most of the population sterile, and now there is a war on population. We're introduced to Sam Hell, who's played by Rowdy Roddy Piper, and he is captured by a female-fronted government who intends to use him for breeding. Fertility and virility are both seen as commodities in this post-apocalyptic world, and Sam Hell is full of both of them. After his capture, Hell is forced to become a mercenary with the purpose of rescuing a group of girls who has been captured by the mutant frogs who live in Frogtown. Of course, after rescuing these girls, his next part of the mission is to impregnate them. His guides on this mission include the extremely attractive and mildly awkward Nurse Spangle, played by Sandal Bergman, and the equally attractive but far less awkward military guard Sentinella, played by CC Verrill. Hell quickly learns that any attempt to escape from the mission is futile because he is equipped with a chastity belt that is actually rigged up to either explode or shock him if he were to get too far away from Nurse Spangle. Of note is that Nurse Spangle actually controls this feature with her earrings. The importance of accessorizing. Control men with your earrings. I can see the as seen on TV commercial now. The group infiltrate Frogtown and eventually rescue the enslaved girls. This tongue-in-cheek 80s gem is rife with dick jokes and masculinity, but it still manages to not cross the line when it comes to misogyny or forced sex, which is really impressive because that would have been a really easy line to cross, especially since the movie focuses so much on how important virility is. For example, in this scene, one of the girls who was captured by the mutants of Frogtown has escaped. Hell, Spangle, and Sentinella find her, and Hell is expected to impregnate her. This easily could have taken a left turn and seemed like Hell was forcing sex upon her, or even that Hell himself was being forced to have sex. Instead, the scene shows Hell dutifully doing his job since he was effectively employed by the government in exchange for his freedom, and it shows the girl as being excited about becoming impregnated. When the escaped slave moves along, she ends up thanking Hell, and everything seems totally copacetic. The movie takes on a challenging topic, and it gracefully navigates through it. In contrast to how the good guys in this film treat women positively, we see that the bad guys in the film are misogynistic, sexist pigs. Frogs? Commander Toady, played by Brian Frank, is the Frogtown chief, and he rules over the sex slaves. He pretty much only has one goal in the film, which is to get the captured girls to make his 3 snakes rise. Happily, he ends up getting 3 kicks in his 3 dicks by the badass Spangle. I love that his sexism is literally kicked down a peg. Do frogs even have dicks? A male frog has 2 interior testicles and a spermatic canal, not a penis, that produce the sperm. This movie is wildly inaccurate. Also, I cannot get enough of this sequence where Spangle is doing the dance of the 3 snakes for Toady. It's so awkward and so erotic, and I both want to be able to dance like that, and I'm so happy that I don't dance like that all at the same time. It's like a world of emotions. On a similar note, we have Captain Devlin, played by William Smith. Hell is Devlin's nemesis solely because Hell banged his daughter, and Devlin has been secretly dealing weapons to Frogtown. Devlin's master plan is to rid the world of female leaders because he sees that as a major problem in society. During the climax of the film, Devlin intercepts Hell and the gang of escaped sex slaves. The slaves have been noted to be passive throughout the film, and it's even said that these girls chose not to escape because
they're from an order of passives. Resistance is not their way.
But in the end, one of these timid girls ends up grabbing Hell's phallic sword in a powerful act where she steps out of her resigned role in order to overcome the oppression of this asshole chauvinist. Hell does end up wielding the sword, but I guess that's just because he wanted to have control over his, weapon. But the mere act of her grabbing for it That's enough to show the power of women that this movie holds. Continuing along with the powerful women of this film, as far as we're shown, the government is entirely female-fronted. Now, I'm not actually sure if this is a good thing or not, since Hal is constantly saying that he hates the government, but what I can say is that putting women in such a powerful authority position was relatively rare in films of this era. There also aren't really any damsel in distress archetypes in this film. There are a couple of moments where Spangle appears to need rescuing, but she quickly takes back control. And at one point, after she kicks some frog ass, Hal even says to her,
"Sure you need me?"
We also have Arabella, who is played by Christy Summers. I can't exactly explain why, but Arabella always reminds me of like a bouncier version of Norma Desmond. Arabella is a frog double agent who helps Hal and Spangle navigate through Frogtown. She risks everything and suffers the ultimate consequence after rescuing Hal. She's a brave, badass, beautiful frog lady. Now, if any of this slave talk and girl power sounds a little bit familiar to you, that's probably because it might be. Not only did Hell Comes to Frogtown rip off the Mad Max franchise, in particular Road Warrior, but I would actually argue that Mad Max Fury Road rips off Hell Comes to Frogtown. Maybe pays homage is a better term to use here. Whatever. Besides the obvious visual similarities, the plot is really similar. In both movies, downtrodden women are being held captive, are eventually rescued, prove themselves to be fiercely strong, and are chased through a wasteland by an evil warlord. The major difference being that Immortan Joe is not a frog warlord, at least to my knowledge. Furiosa also seems to be pretty inspired by Sentinella, and in this scene, I swear that it looks like Sentinella is missing an arm. She's not, but it looks like it. There's also a character in Hell Comes to Frogtown named Lonnie, or Looney Tunes. Looney ends up escaping with Hell and the gang, which results in these shots, which remind me so much of Fury Road. In both scenes, we have the escaped slaves acting as caregivers to somebody who's in need. Both scenes are very tragic and meaningful, and I think it's very interesting that they're so similar. There's also the cod pieces. That's right, each movie features chastity belts. Fury Road has the slave wives shedding their chastity belts in disdain, while Hell Comes to Frogtown has Rowdy Roddy Piper bound by both contract and codpiece to the government. His dick has become government equipment.
There's a flap.
He finally gets released of the restrictions when Bull, one of the higher-ups in Frogtown, ends up cutting it off of him. In my opinion, the chastity belt scenes in Hell Comes to Frogtown way far outweigh Fury Road. But if we're talking about gasoline or guzzling, Fury Road definitely wins out. I would be amiss if I didn't talk at least a little bit about Rowdy Roddy Piper. He started out his career as a professional wrestler, and to this day, he's still considered to be one of the greats. He was known for being a bit of a ham and a bit of a heel in the ring. He definitely encompassed the role of being not always the greatest guy, but still being extremely lovable, both in the ring and on film.
You have the highest spermatozoan count we've ever tested.
Hell Comes to Frogtown was his first leading role in a film, and although I absolutely love him in it, it doesn't hold a candle to They Live. And let's be honest, as far as I can tell, Rowdy Roddy Piper's catchphrase in Hell Comes to Frogtown is
Eat land, froggies!
which is significantly less effective than
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
I read a really great interview by Blake Harris of Slash Film, which is linked down below, and you should absolutely check it out. It's an incredible interview, where he interviewed Randall Frakes, who's the co-writer of Hell Comes to Frogtown. In this interview, Frakes explained that he had a totally different plan for the beginning of the film, where we're introduced to the fact that Hell is captured by the government. Frakes had wanted to hire a stuntman and have a motorcycle built which would be able to flip over but always land right side up and do a big chase scene. However, the studio New World decided to nix that idea and use this super badass wanted poster. When Frakes was discussing this with his friend, James Cameron actually offered $100,000 for them to be able to film this chase scene where Hell gets captured. Now, this would have not only been an investment from James Cameron, but it also would have given Hell Comes to Frogtown a whole bunch of clout, because at the time, James Cameron was super infamous for the Terminator. However, New World still declined. And as Frakes says, I'm sure that they had their reasons, but that would have been freaking cool. Overall, This film is super fun. The practical effects are rockin'. The costuming and set design are amazing. It's a really fun concept. It's got some weird stuff, like for example, why is Leroy wearing goggles when none of the other frogs are? But mostly, it's just a good time. I would definitely recommend this movie if you're looking to have a fun time watching a movie, or if you really love nudity, or if you really love frogs, or if you love all of those things, I guess. I would give this one 5 out of 7 thumbs up. It's not my absolute favorite, but I friggin' love it. Thank you so much for watching. It really means a lot to me. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I can't wait for the next one.